Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this week's live trading session, combined with a review of the week so far. Now, it's been a very good week. This week there were a couple of anomalies within that we'll talk about when we look at the trade review part of this. We're about 9 minutes or so out from the opening bell. So I have two positions on at the moment. I sold just recently, as you will have seen on Telegram, at 37,315, which was slightly above or fairly close to the highs that we were seeing yesterday. I'm also short gold at just below 2033. So one of the trades, the Dow trade, is probably 10 pips to the good, and the gold trade is the opposite, 10 pips against at the moment. We'll just see how those markets move ahead of this opening bell. So what we'll have seen over the last few days is that the markets are very volatile, and especially during that opening period. I think if we just set our minds back to yesterday's opening period, the market fell away 100, 120 points really quickly. And there's every chance that we could see something similar to that today. But for the time being, I think what I'm going to do is, just as we're talking, I'll just put a TP into the Dow order. Not looking for anything too great out of it. 20-25 pips will certainly be sufficient. So I'll just place that now. Just going in there at 94. So I just confirm that. You'll see that come across on Telegram as I'm talking. Going to leave the gold a little bit longer. As we can see in the last half an hour or hour or so, there was a decent sell-off in gold. I'll just take this down to a 1 minute chart, and there you can see that sell-off. We were trading up at 20.43. I sold up at 20.43.80 or that sort of area couple of times this morning. You can see there that we've tested that level once, probably another 2 there, so 3, 4, 5 times in total, and then we've had that fairly significant sell-off, which went all the way down to just below 20.27. So I'm short now, 20.33 roughly. I think it's 32.9, but hoping that we'll see a revisit back down towards at least that 27.28 area. And an opportunity to take profit this afternoon. Excuse me. So just looking again at this chart, you'll see there the 5, 6 maybe attempts to break through that 20.43 level. If we do pop back up to those levels, certainly interested in selling. The trade's worked well a couple of times already this morning, and there may be an opportunity for it to work well again this afternoon. The Dow is pushing down to the TP level that I just put in at 27.294. We're 296 bid as I'm talking, and hopefully that trade will trigger before the opening bell. About 5.5 minutes to go now to the opening bell. And then we'll look, after the opening bell period has passed, we'll look at the markets in general and look at the trades for this week as well. So still sort of hovering around that TP level, 94 on the bid at the moment, 96. Not quite breaking down to where we need it to be, but if you want, there's probably 15, 16 pips worth of a profit at the moment if you want to take that. Just in general, before we start this particular session, or the trading session, if you like, the results this week, the data that's been out this week have largely supported the fact that inflation is cooling, that the Fed is firmly paused. We've just seen a bit of a jump up in the Dow there as we get into these final few minutes before the opening bell. So a little bit of volatility in the Dow creeping in. Just ahead of this opening bell, but still trading around 37,300. Obviously, later in the week, the Fed announced that the rate hike cycle was done effectively, and that there was the potential for some rate decreases early in 2024. and that's seen the Dow hit record after record after record. It's been a one-way movement, and we'll look at the charts again in a few minutes to see quite how dramatic that movement has been, but it has been a one-way movement since we traded around 32,200. I'm trying to think how long ago that was, but I think you'll find that it wasn't very long ago at all. So the TP levels just triggered there. So that profit that trade, the Dow trade has closed. Let me just look at, so I think that was about 21 pips worth of a profit on that trade. The gold trade continues to trade about 5 points against me, or 5 pips against me at the moment. But we'll continue to monitor that and see what happens into this opening bell. The market's been very fast this week. TP's limit levels are definitely worth employing. Sometimes you'll see a price trade, go to react on it, and the market has moved significantly away already. As we're getting closer and closer to this opening bell, we're seeing a little bit more pressure coming through in the DAX, trading at 37,270 at this particular point. Gold has tipped up to 2034 and change. So yeah, the use of limits, the use of TPs in order to make sure you get the prices that you're looking for, because I probably have lost count of how many times that you've seen a price that you want to react on, and you go to react on that trade and you're just too slow. So in these very ultra fast markets, the benefit of those limit orders cannot be overstated. So please, I do recommend that you continue to look at those in these types of markets. Just going around the markets quickly, the euro has strengthened over the last number of days. This is a 1 minute chart. It's lost a little bit of value today, but it has strengthened over the course of over the last couple of weeks. We were up around that 110 level, but have fallen back from there. So the dollar has lost ground against several of the major currencies, notably the Japanese yen over the last couple of days. In relation to sterling trades 127.20. Again, slightly lower today after hitting a high fairly close to 128 yesterday. It's a 15-minute chart, so I'll just pull that down to a minute, and you can see that we've fallen back a little after seeing some strength in sterling over the last number of days. So back to the Dow, probably 90 seconds or so to go to the opening bell, and there's a bit of selling coming in just in advance of that. Currently trading pretty much towards the low of the day for today. I do have a limit in the DAX around 16,720. We're probably 18 to 20 pips away from that at the moment, but we'll continue to monitor that as we go forward. As I said, it's been record close after record close with the Dow, and as we push probably 60 seconds or so from the opening bell, there is a bit of a push lower, 37,249, 250, but no great momentum. We have seen a decent sell-off this morning, and when we look at the charts in a few minutes, we'll see that we have traded up almost as high as 37,400. We did trade above 37,400, 410, probably as high as 420 this morning. All of that pre-US Open, a European slant on how they expected the Dow to go forward, but as it stands at this moment, we seem to be about 150 points lower than that particular point. So opening bell is getting very close, another slip down there, and we are open. Trading around 37,200, so I've been short much of the day. Would have been good to stay short. Probably just going to look to... Now we've popped up a little bit there immediately after the opening bell. Probably just going to put a limit in here. May have just missed it. Pop back up there to 250. So a bit of selling pressure on the opening bell. A lot of orders coming through. Just onto the sell side of that. I'm just going to put a limit in here just around the 200 level, just see what happens. Currently back up to 250, 255, so just monitoring what's happening with gold. 2033 and change, so it's about 3 or 4 pips against me at the moment. Still seeing a bit of selling pressure coming through in the Dow, but it's stabilising. I've written a few times during the course of this week about the narrative and the narrative that's been in place for the last 5 to 6 weeks. You know, my natural form of trading is to look to sell into rallies, to buy on dips, and I've had to move away from that considerably over the last number of weeks, and not necessarily join with the trend, but certainly afford myself a bit of protection from trading from the dominant side, which is certainly from the buy side of these trades at the moment. But since we've opened here so far today, we're kind of trading in a 30-40 pip range, moving back down towards the lower part of that at the moment. There is a chance we might get a trigger here on the limit that's in place, currently trading 37,214. So about 15 pips away from the entry level that I'm looking for, but you can see just as I'm speaking how choppy that is. You know, your 215, your 235, very, very quickly within this range. So you do want to act quickly, and as I've mentioned already, the limits quite often are the best way to approach that. And the market continues to trade within that reasonably tight range since the opening bell, back up to 255 now. So a bit more aggression on that attempt to buy into this market, and we could be looking at 40 to 50 pips of a profit at this particular point. Let me just go back and check where gold is at this point. It's still trading around the level that we opened at. As the market pushes back up to 300, I am interested in maybe getting short at these levels. I'm probably just going to sell there. So I did sell 37,280, 279, 280 around those levels. You'll see that coming through on your phones. I do think there is still a push lower in this market, a bit of profit taking, a pause, whatever you want to call it. The market's moved aggressively over the last number of weeks and aggressively higher. It's a Friday, it's a weekend. Yes, there's a fear of people missing out, but equally so, I think there is an opportunity for people to take profit at this time as well. Gold has slipped a little bit lower as the Dow continues to flirt with this 37,300 level. Level that was the high for yesterday, but as I've mentioned already, that was quite easily surpassed during the course of this morning's trading. So just keeping one eye on that gold trade as we push forward here. Going to have a quick look at the trades for this week, then probably come back and just have a quick summation of where we are with these markets before we get back into the afternoon trading session. But before I move away from the trading screens, we are still around that 37,300 level, and we're still 2033 and change in gold. Let's bring up the results for the week. Every day's been nicely profitable. Standout day, of course, was yesterday. We did have a bit of a technology issue there yesterday. This Dow trade is now closed. Sorry, that should... Oops, sorry. That Dow trade is now closed. Oh, wrong one, sorry. That Dow trade is now closed. We do have a new Dow trade that is open. So up 855 pips for the week so far. Not going to look to be too aggressive this afternoon. Want to keep hold of most of that. Definitely a bit of a short bias as I trade for the remainder of today, but ideally looking to sell on rallies to the upside. Got caught with a couple of gold trades on Monday. These two that you see here on your screen on Monday. Tuesday was a perfect day, no losing trades. Again, a couple of bad Dow trades. Looking for the Dow to slow down on Wednesday, and so started selling around 36,850. Sold above 37,050 and was stopped out around, not stopped out, but closed out around 37,135. Yesterday again, almost near perfect apart from the last trade, probably being a little bit too greedy. Sold at 37,221 and that closed at 37,309. Bit of a spike into the close again yesterday, but 533 pips worth of profit yesterday. 2, 4, 6 trades, 7 trades closed so far today, all quite profitable. 21 pips to add on here, so that would be 876 pips to the good as we currently stand. So I'll close that down. We'll go back just to one last review of the markets before we close down this particular session. They're just opening up for me now there. So really nice drop off in the Dow. Going to take that, just open up my phone and close that trade. Nice 50, 60 pips worth of profit on that one. 50, didn't get there quick enough. The gold trade's about break even, or slightly worse than break even, so we'll continue to monitor that. I do have a bid in there at 37,199. Going to leave it there for the time being. Just look at how aggressive this sell-off is. I think what we've seen over the last 2 days is 37,300 is kind of the key to this market for the time being. We do have PCE data due next week. I think that could see us push higher. I mentioned in the market comment this morning about potentially reaching 38,000. I do think that's too much of a reach, but the lessons from this week tell me that the narrative is still firmly intact. This market does want to go higher, and it's not going to take too much to push it. I think the Fed this week was an important moment, and I think if we see rate cuts early in the new year, this market only has one direction upon it. But for the time being, more ratification or more confidence around the data that we're seeing and more data points that point in the same direction may see this market push towards 37,500. For me, it probably is a reach to suggest it's going to get to 38, although I possibly did suggest that this morning, but with a bit tongue-in-cheek. We'll just have to see how this performs for the remainder of the day. So with that Dow trade closed now, slightly above 900 pips profit for the week. As I've already said, I won't be doing a great deal this afternoon. We'll look to enhance that a little bit, but I'm also going to be ultra cautious and don't want to start giving any of this back. So for the time being, I don't see any questions coming up on my screen. Should have mentioned at the beginning that you're perfectly within your rights to add questions as and when you want. If you do have any questions, please email me, nick@bullandbearcap.com, and I'll respond to you over the remainder of today. About 10-12 pips worth of profit now in the gold trade, so you may see that close very shortly after I end this session. Thank you very much for joining me. Have a good weekend, and I'll see you next week. Thank you.